everyone, and welcome back to my channel. A big welcome back because it has been over a year since I have uploaded to this channel. So much has changed. 2023, as I'm sure it was for a lot of people, was really chaotic. Not as bad as 2022, which drove me to stop uploading to my channel. But it was a lot of change, and my life looks completely different than what it did 2 years ago, and that's a good thing. But there was just a lot coming at me. A new job, I started a relationship, I had to stop teaching piano. You know, it was just so much new that unfortunately a lot of things fell by the wayside. Or I shouldn't say that. I intentionally set them aside because I didn't want the chaos of what was going on to impact, you know, my love for the things I had. But don't fear, I still read plenty during 2023, not as much as I would have liked, but we still managed to read 38 books last year. And about November, around the holidays, I was thinking, you know what, I am steady enough, things have been secure enough for a while that, you know, there's stability to be able to set aside time and not worry about the pressure of other things and start uploading again. So I'm very excited to begin doing this again because I genuinely love doing this, and I'm glad that I'm in a place where I'm able to healthily do that again and make it a part of my weekly routine, and I'm very excited. That being said, it's going to be real pared back. So I'm not planning on majorly editing anything. I'm not planning on following any huge trends or anything like that. I am, as you can visibly see today, in sweats, no makeup, frizzy hair. I just plan to make this as come as you are as possible, and I hope that everyone who watches these also feels that way, that, you know, there's no pressure to perform, there's no pressure to meet certain goals. It literally is just a celebration of what I would like to read and what I have read, and if I meet those little mini goals that I set for myself, great. If I don't, great. You know, I realized one of the biggest lessons I learned last year was that no one is putting pressure on myself except for me. I'm the only one who is holding myself to this standard. I am the only one who is making myself anxious in moments like this. And I was like, so we're just gonna start adding good things. We're not gonna worry about the limitations. We're not gonna worry about whether I'm gonna have time to do something like this. It's just gonna be, this is something good that I love about my life, and we're gonna make sure that I set aside time to do the good things and to have fun doing them. So with that being said, I am just gonna move on to the 4 books that I'm currently in the middle of, because I still have that bad habit of not finishing a book before I pick up another, and the 4 books that I am planning to read this month for January, because I am participating in Winterween, which starts today, actually, and excuse me, I've also been getting over COVID and various other cold-related things, so I'm a little froggy. Anyway, I'm very excited because I loved doing Summerween. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to do it again for winter because I actually have quite a few winter books that I would like to get through. So we'll talk about that in the second half of the video, but for now I'm just going to move on to the books that I'm currently in the middle of. So the first book that I'm in the middle of, I actually attempted to read this past fall, and that is The Turn of the Screw and Daisy Miller by Henry James. This is, you know, American classics, basically. They are 2 gothic horror stories. The Turn of the Screw is the bigger one. I don't actually know the premises of, or excuse me, the premises. I don't know the premise of Daisy Miller, but I'm assuming it's very similar in style. Turn of the Screw follows a governess who shows up to this house to take care of 2 children, and as she's there, you know, it's kind of a classic thriller story we see a lot of now, where it's a big empty house, there are ghosts, you know, the classic horror tropes of mysterious figures, there are deaths, but these 2 children in particular have kind of a weird vibe about them, and this governess who's left on her own, her employer is nowhere to be found. She somehow falls in love with him, I believe, unless that happens to be what Daisy Miller is about. Anyway, so I'm in the middle of it, or about a third of the way through. I'm on chapter 10, and the only real issue I have with this right now is that the language is super dense. I don't know if that was just the style of the late 19th century, but Henry James is not particularly accessible, I am finding. So I'm having to listen to this one on audiobook. I just found a free one on YouTube. But I love Gothic, I love horror, I love thrillers, and so once I actually set my mind to finishing it, I should fly through it, and should be a pretty spooky read. The next book I am in the middle of is The Woman Who Died a Lot by Jasper Fforde. This is the final book in the Thursday Next series. And I kind of fell by the wayside in finishing this. I am just under halfway through. I'm on chapter 20. I loved reading this series. This was probably one of the best series I've read as an adult, if not all time. I have a couple ones from my childhood that I love a lot, but this is so good. I loved the Thursday Next series, and if you love literature, if you love jokes about books and literary characters, if you like multiple universes, parallel universes, you will love this series. So basically, the premise of the series is that Thursday Next is a literary detective, and she works for a particular branch of the government in this universe in England, investigating literary crimes. And while she is doing that, she discovers that she has the ability to read herself into books. And there she joins a police division called Jurisfiction. And basically, she solves crime in the book world, in the fantasy book world. And it's just as ludicrous as that sounds. And this book in particular, in the previous book, Thursday was found in a very precarious position. She was heavily injured, and basically nearly dead. And so she's aged quite a bit by the time this book happens, and so her division sees fit to retire her until she gets conscripted by, I want to make sure I get this name right, she gets a job as the chief librarian of the Swindon All-You-Can-Eat at Fatso's Drink Not Included library. So it's supposed to be this really cushy, low-maintenance, safe job, but Thursday, wherever she goes, trouble follows. And I think, yeah, so the very present villain through this whole book series, he has yet to be defeated, and he makes an appearance again, and her children, of which she has three, are now starting to face the ramifications of what her mother used to do with this villain, and I'm so obsessed with these. I genuinely want to read them again because they are so funny, and Jasper Fforde, who, if you like Terry Pratchett, you'll like Jasper Fforde. Jasper Fforde's a little bit more on the ridiculous side, but it's so good. But he makes like product posters for things that happen in the books. It's just such a trip, and they're funny, and I laugh, and there are so many jokes in these books that just, oh, it's so satisfying, and I can't wait to finish this series and immediately read it again. I love it that much. The next book that I am currently in the middle of, I'm not gonna lie, has been a bit of a disappointment, and I'm bummed to say that because books like that don't happen very often for me. But that is the The Obsidian Tower by Melissa Caruso. And Rysander, I don't exactly know how to pronounce her name, but Ryxandr. She is the warden of the Glomengard Tower. That's this big tall tower here where she lives, and this tower is locked and kept secret at all times because in the tower is a magic that is life-threatening to the entire world. And so as the warden, she is charged obviously with protecting this tower. Rysander herself has the unfortunate ability that if someone touches her, she sucks the life force out of them. And one day, she discovers that there's a break-in, and someone broke into this tower and let loose the magic, and so now she has to deal with the ramifications of that. And I am maybe between a quarter and a third of the way done. I'm chapter 15. I don't think I'm gonna like this book, and it makes me sad because it's been on my shelf for so long, and I think the premise is really interesting. But this feels like if you distilled every fantasy trope down to its basest form and shoved them all in one book. It feels that kind of stereotypical, and like, I get that maps of places, you know, we kind of roll our eyes at the names of places. This one actually made me groan. Like, it's just so, I don't know, it doesn't feel believable to me. I have no buy-in to this book, and I feel badly because it's such an interesting premise. I don't know why I'm not connecting it. Fantasy is one of my favorite genres, and this is YA fantasy, which is probably my all-time favorite genre to read. And I'm not really enjoying it right now. It feels very forced. There's a lot of moving parts that don't quite connect, at least to me. The final book that I am in the middle of is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton, and I'm nearly done with this one. I have maybe about a quarter of it left. Again, I really like the premise. I think it is an incredibly unique premise. Basically, it follows the story of Aidan Bishop, who discovers that he is trapped in this masquerade party, and he is doomed to repeat the same day 7 times to solve the death of Evelyn Hardcastle in order to escape this time loop that he's in. And every day he wakes up as a different guest of the party in order to figure out who killed her. There are some obviously dangerous stakes. There is someone called the Footman who is tracking him down and killing him every day. There are other people who are also trapped that he's trying to help escape. He bonds with Evelyn and wants to save her life rather than solve her murder, and so there's a bunch of moving parts that are, you know, raising the stakes in here. I think for me, I don't know if I'm connecting with this book as much as other people did, because this doesn't feel like a murder mystery. The real part that's engaging me in this book is, why is Aidan there? Like, what's the situation that he's in? Who created this game that he's playing? How did he get to this point? And I don't think we're gonna get that till the very end. And that's what's intriguing me more, is how did Aidan end up in this situation rather than who killed Evelyn? And you know, maybe they're one and the same, the reasons at the end, but that's more intriguing to me. I really don't know what I'm gonna rate this book. Usually at about the halfway mark, I have kind of a pretty solid idea as to what my review was gonna be. I don't know for this one. I don't know. I'm hoping to finish this one right after Winterween, because like I said, I don't have much left. So fingers crossed, but I'm enjoying it so far. And it's Art Deco, it's beautiful, love it a lot. Moving on to the Winterween Readathon, hosted by Gabby Reads. And like I said, I did Summerween last year. I had a lot of fun with it. I read some really good books. And so I decided to participate in this one, which I believe is like witchy winter themed. And so there are 5 prompts to follow, 6 prompts, excuse me, to follow. One of them is to read a book in the dark, and one night I'm just gonna stay up late and read that book. So it'll probably be about Tuesday night or Wednesday night that I actually get to read a book in the dark, and so whatever book I'm reading, that'll just be that prompt. And then the next one is a book with a witch on the cover. And I actually did find one. I was worried I was gonna have to go out and get one, but I do have one. I picked up a copy of Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I have actually read this before, but it was a while ago in high school. The main character, Agnieszka, is a witch. She can perform magic, and she's on the cover. And partly why I picked up this book the first time was because Gregory Maguire wrote the excerpt, and he wrote Wicked, and I love Wicked. This was a super interesting premise, and I remember that I was very intrigued by Naomi Novik's writing style, because she had super long paragraphs and it's very stream of consciousness. So it took me a while to get used to it, but I ended up falling in love with it. And this follows the story of Agnieszka, and she lives in a area of the world that's kind of a poorer village, and on the edge of her village is the wood, which is like this really dark, evil presence that slowly kind of encroaches and grows, and the person who keeps them safe is a wizard called the dragon. And the dragon lives in this tower all by himself, and every 10 years he comes and chooses a girl to be a sacrifice, in order to continue protecting this place for another 10 years. And so Agnieszka finally gets to the age where she is old enough to be picked, and usually the girls who get picked are like really talented or really pretty, or, you know, have more money, and her best friend Kasia is that way. And so she's really worried that like Kasia's gonna get picked and she's gonna lose her best friend forever, until the dragon picks Agnieszka. And then the whole story is about her going to the tower. She ends up learning magic. That's not really a spoiler, but she's terrified of, you know, obviously going with the man who takes women as sacrifices, and learns more about the dragon. It's a kind of a dark fae story a little bit. I think probably this was maybe the tipping point into that world. You know, obviously we see such a push towards dark fae romance, and I think this is probably one of the leading books to do that. And I know that there are sequels, and I kind of am intrigued to maybe read the next. I think, is it Spinning Silver? Anyway, I'm really excited to reread this because I ended up really loving this book when I was in high school. Yeah, I can't wait to read it again. So the next prompt is a book that has purple on the cover. And so the book I decided to pick for this was Echo North by Joanna Ruth Meyer. This book has been on my TBR shelves for actual years. This is probably one of the books that has been there the longest. And I feel badly because it was such an interesting premise, and I remember being really enchanted with the story of this book. And so this follows a girl named Echo, and Echo's father leaves one day for the city and disappears. And she is obviously beside herself because her father was her everything. And then one day she finds him half frozen in the wood, guarded by a wolf who can talk. And she remembers that this was a wolf who attacked her as a child. And so the wolf basically offers her this premise, or this proposition. He says, "Come live with me for a year, and I will ensure that your father gets home safely." And so she takes the deal, goes to live with the wolf, and discovers that he lives in this mountain with all of these rooms that move and change and disappear. And she discovers that there's someone else who's trapped in the mountain. And so she has to help solve the wolf's enchantment and try to get him out of the enchantment in order to save herself, her father, and the other person who's trapped in the mountain. So this sounds like the perfect winter story, and I cannot wait to read this. This might be the one that I start with because I'm that excited to read this book. Next prompt is a book with a winter setting, and speaking of Gregory Maguire, I decided to pick up Hidden Sea, which is his sort of true tale of the Nutcracker. And I got this book for my dad for Christmas, again, years ago. And it's been sitting on my shelf because I loved Wicked so much. And I cannot wait to read the complicated, dark backstory. He really does write Grimm's fairy tale level darkness to these stories that we grew up hearing. And like, I love Wicked the musical, but I think Wicked the book is so much better. I love you, Idina Menzel, but even so, his writing is just stunning. And I love like the true tales of things, and it's so Bavarian and dark, and I want to eat Black Forest Gatto and read about German Romanticism because this just sounds so good. And I have to show you, this is a really pretty slipcover, but look, at the cover of this book, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I'm so excited to read this. And it's relatively short. How many pages is it? I don't even think it's 300 pages. Yeah, just shy, like 20 pages shy of 300 pages. So this is gonna go really quick. And the next book prompt is to read a book with W in the title. And so I picked A Shiver of Snow and Sky by Lisa Ledecky. So this follows the story of Osa, and she lives on this kind of frozen island called Skane, and the sky there changes colors, and the colors mean different things, and when the sky is red, it's a warning. And the day that Osa was born, the sky was red, and it was a warning of a plague that kind of devastated the area. And then 17 years later, the sky turns red again, and so Osa must figure out how to stop the destruction that is inevitable and save her people. This seems like the perfect kind of, again, wintry thriller book. And I got this for Christmas a couple years ago, 1 or 2 years ago, maybe my birthday. It was a wintertime holiday. And again, this one's pretty short. I want to say, yeah, this is just over 300 pages. So lots of good short books. And I love a good map. There's the map of Skane. Yeah, and this one has a good shout out by Samantha Shannon, who wrote The Bone Season, and I've heard wonderful things about that book as well. So I just love this cover too. I love the foiling. Red, red, the lights glow red. Beware the danger up ahead. So it's really gorgeous, and I can't wait to read it. And anyway, the last prompt for Winterween is to make food or drink that's winter inspired. And yeah, just celebrate the winter season with some good, all of these are going to be fantasy thrillers, which seems to be the predominant theme of the books that I chose. Anyway, that's my TBR for January. I'm going to finish 4 books, and I'm going to read 4 new ones. Like I said, this is just going to be a super chill year for BookTube. We're going to do some TBRs, we're going to do some wrap-ups, we're going to do a couple reading vlogs, and that's it. I'm not planning to do anything more extravagant, just keep it super casual, super chill, and talk about the books that I loved reading and the books that I didn't love reading. So anyway, I hope that you had a wonderful holiday season, that you read some good books last year, and I would love to hear about what your reading plans are. Have you read any of the books that I have read or will read? Yeah, what are your thoughts? I'd love to know, and what your plans are for 2024 reading. And with that, I will see you later.